And we can start creating the second flow. If you remember, we add two instructions, and in the two instructions, we mentioned two flows that the assistant needs to use. So for this one, we are going to click on new flow again, and then we will click on start from scratch and auto launch flow. And if you remember, for this flow, we will need to get the training sessions. So as well as the same that we were working, we are going to use the get elements, and we will select get records. So this get records will be called get sessions by date. And we'll say that this course sessions records based on the course ID and the date. And we are going to use Salesforce object as the data source, and we will look for source. Sorry, sessions, and it's in here. So for this one, we need to filter by course ID and start date. So remember that we need to filter by those two variables because we are saying that we need to get the sessions by date. So the first one, we need the course. And as the same as the one that the last flow that we were developed, we need to create a new variable for this one and should be available for input because we need to be able to receive that information. So for this one, I'm going to call it course ID because we told the agent to give us just the course ID. And we will say that this will be the ID of the course that you would like to check for. And the type of this variable will be text, and we will check the available for input. So in here we are saying that we will get all the sessions that relates to this course. The course ID that will came from the result of the assistant. And we also need to add the date. So the date, we need to also create a custom variable, a new variable, sorry. And this variable, you are going to call it a start date. And this variable will help to know the date that the user would like the course for. Okay, so this one, the data type will be date and also will be available for input so we can be able to receive that information from the assistant. If you remember in the instructions, we told the assistant to always ask for a date if the client didn't mention it. So we can filter that date from these filter sessions, from these filter records. So now that we have our conditions, the conditions are to filter the course and also to filter the date that the client is interested for. We can assign that information to a variable. So this is another way that we can do it. If you remember in the last flow, we did it with an assignment element, but we can also do it from the setup of the get element, of the get records element. And in here, you will need to select the choose fields and assign variables advanced. And in here, you will need to create a new resource, a new variable, and the type of this variable should be a record and should be the same type of object that we are using in the get record. So for this variable, we are going to call it sessions, and will be for the available sessions records for the course. So in here, we are going to select record, and that in the object should be session, because that's the one that we are using in the get element. And remember to check on the available for output, so will be so the assistant will be able to use the information or to use this variable as a result. So we are going to click on done, and in the select session fields, we are going to select what fields we would like to be available in that variable. So we are going to say ID, date, and course, right? So now we are going to save this flow, and we are going to call it get training sessions. If you remember, this is the same as we put it in the instructions of the assistant. And then we are going to click on save. I'm going to activate this flow also. I don't remember if I activate the other one. Let me check. We can just, yeah, it's already activated. So great, now that we have our two flows, we can add those flows as a custom actions to the agent, sorry. So I'm going to close these tabs, and we will just need to go to the setup again. I'm going to do it because if you just get lost, because a lot of tabs that I had in here. But in the quick find, we are going to look for agents, and then click on agents. And we are going to look for our CRS support assistant and click in the menu option and click in the open in builder. So now that we are here in our builder of the support assistant, we need to add our custom actions and need to be set by the flows that we recently created. So in here, we are going to navigate to the topic tab, and we will click to the custom topic that we create. If you see in the instructions, it's where we mention the action that the agent should use when the client wants more details, or if the client asks about the training sessions. If you see, we have the get course details that was the flow that we have created, and the get training sessions. So for adding these flows to this agent, we will go to these topics actions. And in these topic actions, we will click on new, and we will create a new action. So from this screen, we need to select the type of action that we are going to create. So for this time, we are going to select flows. We're going to have another session where we'll be able to create an apex or prompt templates, or to create multiple prompts. But for this hands-on, we are going to start creating an action with flows. And in the reference action, we will look for our action or our flow. If you see, it automatically shows in this list. So the first one that we are going to create is a get course details, and we are going to select this one. In here, you will be able to edit the action label, but I recommend you to let it like this by default, so it will easily to you to identify that what flow it's related to this action. Then we are going to click on next. If you see, in here we have the input that are the variables that we set with the check on available for input. So this would let the assistant know that we need this input for getting the results of the flow, or that variable is required in the flow. So this input, we will need to be set the required input check. So this needs to be required because if we don't have the name of the course, so the flow will fail and he will not be able to know what records to retrieve. Remember that we use this input in the filters conditions of the get element. So it's very important for us to tell the assistant that this is a required input. And for the output input, if you see we have the course record, this variable has the record of the result of the get element. So for this one, we will say that we can show in the conversation with the client because the client wants that information about the course. So for this type, we are going to select show in conversation. And if you see, we have agent action instructions. So I forgot to do something because when you have a flow and the flow has a description, that description, it will take it automatically as an agent action instruction. So as a good practice, always remember, don't be like me, that I forgot to set the description of the flow. You need to always set a description to the flow so the agent, because with that description, the agent will identify when to use that flow. So don't be like me. Always remember to add the description, and when you add a description to the flow, you will see it automatically populated in these agent action instructions. So that's why in here it's telling us this is required. So for this flow, I'm going to add provides details about a course that a user would like more information about. So that's the main purpose of that action, to provide details about the course. And these are the inputs. This loading text, it's basically like what's going to show the assistant while is processing this action. So we can just add like loading course details. And great, now we can just click on finish. And as you see, our custom action was added to the assistant. So we can start asking him like questions related to the course details. But I'm going to check first the records that we have for that object. I already add some sample data, but I'm going to show you so you can see. I just add 3 records, but you can add like more if you want. So for example, we have the Salesforce AI specialist, and this one has teach AI driving automation, Einstein AI, and Agentforce implementation. If we go to admin, it has all the courses has the description. It's a very short one, so but the agent will be using this information of the course. So to tell the client like an overview, you can add more data if you want to test the agent better. But for example, I'm going to ask him about the Salesforce admin course. So I am going to go back to the agent tab, to my agent. And I'm going to ask him like, tell me more about Salesforce admin course. So we are going to test our topic and our actions and see if our assistant is understanding what we are telling him. So if you see we have an error, it said an error occurred when executing a flow interview. So we have an error in our flow. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, every time you get an error in your flow, you will receive an email. So if I go to my email, as you see, I will receive this error that I got from that flow when in the panel, and it told me that an error occurred when executing a flow interview, and on my email I received the error of the flow. So sometimes these things happens, and